Hello everyone, thanks for joining the session. So today we are going to discuss about Sonarqube tool. So first of all, let's understand what is the outline of the course. So while we talk about Sonarqube, so we talk about the code quality. So we talk about why we require Sonarqube, what is Sonarqube. Then we discuss more about how Sonarqube works. Then we discuss the architecture of SonarQube so that in future, if there are some issues, so we can troubleshoot the issues on which component we are facing that issue. After that, we'll be discussing what different features SonarQube provides. Then how this particular SonarQube, based on what parameters you can include, what types of quality gates, and how to design a quality gate, what are quality profiles, so what are rules, so all those things we are going to see. For that, definitely we are going to install SonarQube. So we are going to see both the installation. So we are going to do Ubuntu installation on Ubuntu OS. So it will be a standalone installation for SonarQube. And again, we'll be installing that on the Docker also. Again, the course will be extending to several more things, like it will be so we'll be installing Jenkins instance and we will be configuring Jenkins. So we'll use some sample code, and we will by using Jenkins job we'll trigger a job, and that job can be then passed on to the SonarQube, and it will be a kind of CI/CD pipeline wherein our job will wait until and unless the SonarQube quality gets approves that particular code, then only it will move forward, otherwise the code sample will fail. So let's start with the code quality. Let's discuss with the code quality. So what is a code quality? So when we talk about code quality, so whenever we say, so how can we define some code is good or bad? Because when there is a question of a code
Uh,
quality,
Sahil,
yes,
yeah, I got a question. I mean, like,
yeah,
so like today's class is like for 1 hour, right?
yes, yes, yes.
Okay, and like how long for how many hours do we need to finish this training? First of all,
Yeah. So this training will consist of at least 6 hours, minimum 6 hours it will require, and based on Q&A, we'll at least require 8 hours.
okay, so like today we're gonna have it like 1 hour session, and then tomorrow and maybe day after tomorrow. So I mean, the thing is, I you can do one thing, you can keep continuing and I can talk to Mantosh, a little bit more on. Okay,
Okay, okay, sure, 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 no
okay, brother.
problem.
I mean, like, I don't want to waste the time for Rizwan and Venki and two other
Yeah, yeah,
guys, right? So like, and then
yeah.
I can just come back. Okay, okay,
Okay, okay, sure, sure.
okay, brother.
So yeah, so let's discuss about the code quality. So when we discuss about code quality, so what we think of code.
Sorry, Shahil, sorry to interrupt again. So, when
Yeah,
I checked before, it was mentioned like nearly 15 to 18 hours, right? So you're saying 8 hours?
yeah, it
Is
is
it
the
depends
minimum.
upon our
Yeah,
conversation or like,
yeah, yeah,
okay,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, it
the,
depends
the,
upon our conversation, and again, so if you also do the hands-on, right? If you do it
oh,
together with me, then definitely it is
oh,
going to take more time, right?
oh, yeah, got it. Yeah.
Correct.
And
So
okay,
definitely it is recommended to perform
mm,
those things together, so that you will also get all those things like how it is happening and what we are trying to do, right?
okay, that's fine.
Yeah. So definitely it will take
Mm.
around 16 hours if we do it together, because there will be a Jenkins installation as well, and then we will
So
write a CI/CD pipeline as well. So that requires the explanation of how to write that particular syntax, right?
so
The
Sahil, my
CI/CD.
question is like, how today you're gonna take like 1 hour like training, and then for how you're gonna complete like the remaining 17 or 15 hours?
Sorry to interrupt, Imran. He is saying about it's not about 15 hours, it's not about 8 hours. He's saying minimum 8 hours, which depends upon how we practicing and the installation of the servers, and we're gonna check the code quality one by one, the each and every language, and how we going to together are individual. So that's what he is meaning. Sorry if I'm wrong,
No,
Shahil.
no. My question is, I understand that part, but like my question is, like tomorrow you looking to plan for covering 2 hours, and on maybe Sunday you gonna cover like for another 2 hours. I'm asking that thing.
Ah,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
okay. So, yeah,
yeah.
okay.
Actually, it was planned to cover 4 hours today, but there is some medical emergency at my end, so that is why I mean I'll have to step out today. So that is the only issue. So I mean, I'll make sure that we finish this course as soon as possible. So I am discussing the same with Mantosh also, so how we can plan it and we can finish this off.
Uh, Imran, are you available in weekdays, like I say in the morning?
Yes, I am.
Yes, yeah. In that, Shahil, we would like to discuss after the classic situation came. So, we would like to attend the continuous, like today is Sunday and Monday to week as well. So, until Friday. So, is that okay? So because we would like to, we don't want to keep, the disruption, the Saturday, Sunday, and it so comes again Saturday, Sunday, it's gonna,
Like
we're
no,
gonna
that's
miss something.
that's really good idea, by the way. I mean, like it has to be done in this situation because
Yes, if it is continuation, then we will get, connectivity, and we can practice, and it's gonna be a good sessions. So how it sounds like, Shahil?
Yeah, so yeah, I mean it is also fine with me. It's just that
Yes, I have joined the meeting. Please tell.
yeah, yes, Mantosh. So I mean the participant wanted to know how we are going to cover the 16 hours duration, which will cover the complete hands-on writing CI/CD pipeline, Jenkins installation, and all that.
Sahil, if I'm right, like last when we had a meeting with Imran and Venki last time, so we
Yeah,
discussed
yeah.
about somewhere around 8 hours, right? So suddenly it's 16 hours.
So I mean 8 hours is just for my explanation, and if they are also doing some things, right? I mean they are also
Okay,
doing
hands-on, hands-on. So if
yeah,
if
yeah,
you are okay
hands-on.
with hands-on, I mean, just provide them. There's no problem on it because session should be good, and we need
Yeah.
some good feedbacks from all these guys, right? Because yeah, we'll have to do it. So no issues. So guys, we can discuss on the time. It's no problem. Let's have a conversation on that.
Sure, sure.
So
So it is
Sahil,
not mandatory. I mean, it will take 16 hours only. It is not mandatory. I mean, I'm mentioning that it might take or it might take even less also. So that depends upon how we are doing the hands-on, right?
and one more thing. I mean, like Sahil, uh,
Yes,
like you are gonna define like how you're gonna integrate the Sonar Cube with the Jenkins, right? And
correct.
how you're gonna do the integration of Jira ticketing system into the Sonar
Yeah,
Cube,
yeah,
so
yeah.
that you,
If
right?
you don't mind, Imran, first let's have the session, then we can continue end of the
Okay,
session.
go ahead,
That
please.
would
Go
be
ahead,
great.
please.
Yeah.
Go ahead, please.
Yeah.
Continue. I'm muting. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay. So yeah, we are going to cover that. No worries. So yeah, I mean, time is you don't have to worry about that. We'll just finalize something. I'll have a word with Mantosh as well. So let's discuss now what is a code quality first of all. So first of all, why we are discussing a code quality? Because when we talk about Sonarqube, so it is about a static code analysis tool. So when I say static code analysis tool, so what is that? So let me draw a figure for you. So I'll explain you what this particular thing is required and why we are using this particular tool only. So when we talk about CI/CD pipeline, or when we talk about the DevOps process, right? When we talk about DevOps process, so in this particular process, as you might be already aware, we have one source code management tool. So this source code management tool can be something of GitLab, Git, or any of that software which manages your code. So it can be GitLab, Bitbucket, or GitHub. Okay. So when let's say this particular developer pushes his code to this source code management. Okay, so now once he pushes this code to source code management, it triggers some kind of jobs. So this particular job can be, so there can be multiple types of integrators. So if we talk about GitLab, so GitLab itself is sufficient to do all the CI/CD things, right? So GitLab itself contains all the things that is required for CI/CD. Then if you talk about standalone system, let's say we don't want to use GitLab, so in that scenario we might use GitHub plus or GitHub plus we can use Jenkins, right? So Jenkins can be an integrator for your particular CI pipeline, right? So what happens is when this particular developer pushes his code, so this code can be in any language. So this code can be in, let's say, Python language or Java language or any of that sort language. Now this particular code is stored in the your source code management, and what happens whenever you commit something, so this developer commits some things, this code triggers a job inside your Jenkins, or this triggers a pipeline in case of GitLab. Now once this pipeline is triggered, what happens is, so basically the CI consists of, the CI, that is a continuous integration, consists of two steps, that is building and testing. So we are specifically talking about this particular testing. Okay, so we are talking about this state in CI which is particularly testing. So this particular Jenkins will integrate with lots of tool, like it will have Maven as a build tool. So let's consider this particular developer is writing a Java code. So basically this Java code is stored in your Git, and then it is with a commit, it will trigger a Jenkins job, and then Jenkins will have this Maven as a plugin. And what will happen is this particular Java code will get using a build using this Maven tool, right? So it will generate some package and all those things. But that is fine if you generate this particular code, and if you build that app, after building that package, we can move it to the uh, development environment, or we can move it to QA environment, of that sort, right? So this packet or this package can be of jar or war format, and then that will be copied to some environment. That is fine. But let's say, what if there is an issue with this code? So when I say issue with the code, so I'm not talking about the functionality. So what do I mean by issue is that this particular code might have some kind of loopholes. So when I'm not talking about the functionality here, so functionality means functionally the code is very fine, so it is doing what it requires to do. But the thing is, the issue is, so as soon as this code is deployed in production, so definitely, as you might be aware, that there are different types of bug bounties and different types of attackers. Those are trying to uh, go through your application. Those are trying to reach to your application, break down your application, and take control of your application. Now when we talk about such scenarios, so if there is a loophole in your code, there is a, just give me a minute. So there is a loophole in your code, and then there is, let's say, there is a small backdoor in your code. So developer is not aware of that, because developer kind of team, this team will consist of human members, right? And they have a limitations, right? So they cannot go ahead and do every test on that particular code, right? So if there is some kind of loophole, and this particular attacker that is here, he tries to do all the attacks on your application, and then he finds, okay, there is a loophole because of this particular code, and then this will be a big trouble for us, because our application will be completely in control of this guy, just because we did not put and we did not take care of that particular loophole, right? But now when we talk about this particular code or the application, so definitely it is not a small code, right? It might be 1,000 line, it might be a 1500 line code. So how we are going to manage that, how we are going to write testing for that, right? So to address this particular issue where we are talking about testing, we require some sort of tool that will help us to test the code. So basically when we talk about testing in case of any testing, or in case of, let's say, this particular DevOps cycle, okay, so we talk about two types of testing. Okay, so we talk about two types of testing. So first type of testing, we'll be calling it as SAST, and other type of testing we'll be calling it as a DAST. So now there is two type of testing, SAST and DAST. So now when we talk about SAST, so there is a very small difference actually, but yeah, those both are the testing tools. So when we talk about SAST, so it completely deals on your code. So it requires your code, it deals on the code. Okay, and this DAST is again a dynamic static testing. So this depends upon your application, so it does not depend upon your code. Okay, so I'll explain you how those two things depend. So this depends on code, and this depends on application. So when I say code, so that means this SaaS tool must have access to your code, right? So this must depends upon the source code. So when we say code, so definitely this SAST tool is a language dependent tool, right? So it will be a language dependent tool because it depends completely on the code, right? So it is a language dependent code. Now DAST is something like doesn't depend on the language, so it can be any application, but there can be several tests. So it is language independent. So I can say it is a language independent code to testing. Now the next thing is, so when I say it is a language dependent code, a language dependent tool, so or the testing, so what happens is, so it requires access to this particular code, and then as we are mentioning about code things, definitely it is coming before the dash. So whenever SAST is performed, before the dash is performed, because it is a kind of testing that we are doing when we are still in the development cycle. So this thing happens during your particularly development software development life cycle only. Okay. Now this particular DAST can be done after the software is deployed. So application is running and then you do the dynamic testing. Now the example will make you clear what is SAST. So SAST means it will take your code, it will take your code, it will analyze that, okay, and if there is some loophole, so if you are aware about log4j, so log4j was currently a major issue. So there was a vulnerability in this particular log4j, and many applications those were using this particular library were vulnerable due to this particular log4j, right? So now this is one example wherein if your code contain this kind of log4j library, which is already known issue or known vulnerable issue, your static code analysis will tell you that. So what is that we are doing here? So we are just taking a code, analyzing it, and we are just highlighting what is if there are known bugs, if there are known issues, what should be a correct syntax and all those things, right? And when we talk about dynamic testing, so we talk about more about the application. So we talk about how the application can be hacked, or the how the, so let's say there is a login page for your application, so doing some SQL injections. So when we talk about SQL injection means what? SQL injection is again a type of attack wherein the attacker will just input some SQL queries. And let's say in the backend, if your application is somehow responding to that SQL queries, like let's say, so there will be definitely some inputs, right? So it will ask some inputs from user, like your username, your password. So what will happen is, so let's say in case of username or in case of password, so if you put some kind of SQL queries, and let's say your application is not designed to handle that thing, so what might happen is it will return you some values, and based on that particular values, your attacker will get the information about your system, and he can use that particular data to hack your system and hack your application. So particularly, so I hope it makes a clear what is SAST and what is DAST. So any questions? Okay, so I'll take silence as a no. So let's discuss. So in CI/CD pipeline, where we use SAST and where we use DAST. So definitely, when I talk about CI/CD pipeline, this particular pipeline, so what we are doing is, so definitely the SAST
So
is coming.
Sahil, so
Yes.
like you don't think so? Like these while we are doing the SAST testing, we don't
Yeah.
get like these vulnerabilities of SQL injection in SAST stage.
Yeah, you can get definitely some codes are there only. I mean, that was just an example. Some attack scenarios are possible in both the ways. I mean, it will be available in DAST also, it will available in the SAST also. But the thing is, so definitely, yeah, to answer your question, yes, it covers if you talk about Sonarqube itself, so it covers the top 10 uh, QSP, so that will have all of your attacks like SQL injection and all those things. So yeah, definitely it covers that. But when we talk about DAST, which is a dynamic, so what happens, it is a completely code independent. So that means as an attacker, I need not to know what in which language this code is written. As an attacker, I have to just do some kind of like penetration testing or something of that sort, like attacking the application as a part of user interface. Like you might have heard about the bug bounties, like there are some issues when if you know about some known issues, like there were some issues with two-factor authentication with some bigger giants like Google and all those things, so they are award some bug bounties for that, right? So when we talk about the dynamic testing, so it is completely irrelevant with the code. So that was just an example. So definitely yes, SQL injection is covered in
Thank you.
uh, yeah, SAST
Thank you very
also.
much. Thank you, sir. Continue, please.
Okay, hope it answers your question, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So when we talk about now, since we know what is SAST and what is DAST, right? So Sonarqube is kind of SAST tool. So it is a static analysis tool. So now there is one more extra difference between that. So this particular SAST requires a see it works on predefined rules. Okay, so it works on predefined rules, and here you just validate your code based upon the known issues. Okay, you don't validate your code based upon the future possibilities or what may happen, right? You have predefined rules. On based on that rules, if your application code is not following that rules, then you will say okay, my code has some problem, right? So it works on predefined rules. But dynamic testing can be anything. I mean, the attacker can use any way. He can use any which way he can try to access your application and try to bring down your application. So it is not based on a predefined rules that we do, right? So when we talk about this particular SaaS, so where it will fit in our life cycle, so that is what we are more interested in learning, why where it will fit in our CI/CD pipeline. So as soon as you do this particular build, okay, or as soon as you perform this build parallelly, you can do the testing, or you can even put this testing before the build as well. If you want to do that, you can do that as well. So what will happen is, as soon as your code is committed to your SCM, so what will have that particular code. So as you know, when the code is built, so in terms of Jenkins, if I want to discuss, so Jenkins will have that particular host, so that will like a slave host, and on top of that, what it will do, first step it do is, so it clones that particular code, right? It clones that particular code, right? So as soon as it clones that particular code on that machine, so you now have the source code, right? So basically we will understand how Sonarqube works, so we will discuss like what are the components. But basically, now for now you understand that particular code is passed into Sonarqube, and now Sonarqube will have some mechanism. So that mechanism I will be discussing, but this Sonarqube will have some mechanism to validate that code against several tests. So that will be a predefined rules against which we will just go ahead and perform those testings. And if it is given that okay, this is the issue, then either it will give you a go ahead. So if let's say your code is good, it will tell okay, everything is okay, and you can go ahead and build the code and deploy the code. If there is some issue with your code and it is not filling in that criteria, so it will tell okay, it is not a good code, and you cannot go ahead. So simply your CI/CD pipeline will stop here. So the developer will receive back the feedback that okay, your code is not good and these are the issues in your code. So you can assign the issues to that particular user, and then he can fix that issues and again trigger this pipeline. And if now it is okay, then only it will move ahead. Okay, so where it is fitting is, so it is just fitting in your first cycle, that is your SAST, and Sonarqube is fitting in your CI pipeline itself, right? Continuous integration. Now when we talk about the DAST tool, so that are available once the application is deployed. So it is a part of your CD, because in if you are talk about continuous delivery, so you might deploy your application in case in test environment, and now you can perform DAST in the test environment also. So either you can perform DAST in test environment, or you can perform DAST in case of production environment also. But mostly it will be preferred that you at least perform the DAST in case of non-prod only, so that your production application is not facing any kind of those issues those are there in the non-prod. So I hope it is clear where the SAST fit in the CI/CD pipeline and where the DAST is fitting in the CI/CD pipeline. Okay. So any questions around this?
Could you repeat again about SAST and DAST, child, if you don't mind?
Okay. So you want to understand
Venki,
the
Venki.
whole?
No, not
Uh,
whole. It's a very fit in the
okay.
CICD part.
Okay. So so basically, when we talk about CI/CD pipeline, so just give me a 2 minutes. I think I have someone on the
Rajan, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
When he's talking about DAST, so I'm thinking of application scannings. Yeah,
Yes, yes, a
I'm think,
dynamic analysis software testing.
I'm thinking of other tools like Authentic and Portswigger and Rectify.
Yeah,
So
I'm
basically,
sorry for that. I'm back. Yeah, so I was discussing about this particular CI/CD pipeline, right? So where it fits in CI/CD pipeline is very simple. See, CI/CD is composed of two parts, right? CI and CD. So when we talk about CI, that means it will be a continuous integration. And what is a continuous integration is that as soon as the code is committed to the source code management, that particular code will be built and will be tested. So that is what build plus test is a part of your CI pipeline. So continuous integration, right? So that means as soon as the code is built, it should be tested. Now this SAST is what it depends upon the code, right? So when we say it depends upon the code, definitely it is going to be part of your CI only, because it is a part of your testing. That is a part of your CI. So basically it comes first in the software development lifecycle. And when we talk about DAST, so DAST meant was dynamic testing. So when you can do the dynamic testing, as soon as the application is deployed, as soon as application is in the running state, then only you can do the perform the dash testing, right? Then only will you can perform some dash testing. So that is why dash will come inside the CD, that is a continuous delivery. So your application will be deployed in non-prod environment, okay, or you can deploy your application in prod environment, and based on that particular environment you can just go ahead and test your application. So SAST is a part of your CI which comes early in the software development lifecycle, and DAST will be done once the application is deployed. Is that does that answer your question?
yeah.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, and any other questions?
No, no, no.
Um,
So
You can go on.
okay, okay. So definitely, I mean, you don't have to worry about all this. So this is just about the theory part. Okay, once you do the hands-on, you will understand everything. So whatever I'm telling here as a part of theory, so all that will be discussing hands-on also. So definitely, you will get like what we are doing and why we are doing basically. So let's move to the next thing. So now when we are saying that this particular code is good or bad, right? So basically we need to discuss several parameters. We should have some standards for the code, right? So when we discuss about anything like is anything good or bad, so we need to have some kind of rules that defines if your code is good or if your code is bad, right? So what do we talk about a code quality? So there should be some kind of rules. Based on that only you will define if your code is good or if your code is bad. Now what is the issue with the bad code is, so definitely there if there is you are writing some bad code, so definitely there will be some backdoors to your code, and the end user will reach to your code directly, and then he might uh, get that perform get your application will be impacted, and definitely when your application is impacted, it will directly impact the business. So that is how it is directly connected with your business. So that is why this particular static code testing is very important when we talk about testings, right? So as I was mentioning that there should be some kind of quality characteristics that we define in this particular parameter, right? So when we talk about ISO IEC 9126, so this is one kind of model, right? So what is a model? This particular ISO IEC is a model that defines what is a good code and what is a bad code. So they define some kind of parameters. On based on that parameters, you can decide if the code written is a good or code written is a bad code. Okay, so what kind of quality this particular ISO IEC 9126 defines. Okay, so it is a globally accepted model. Okay, so it is a globally accepted model, and definitely when I say globally accepted model, so every company or every organization must be following this particular parameter while they talk about the code, right? So this comprises of six quality characteristics. When we talk about external and internal quality, so these are some columns, these are some basic foundations that are required to understand how your code can be good. And this particular thing that we are discussing here, like the functionality, reliability, usability, efficiency, maintainability, portability, so all those things you will again see these things in Sonarqube also. So basically we can say that Sonarqube is following this particular module or any kind of static code testing. When we talk about static code testing, definitely it is going to follow this sort of rules.
Hello everyone, if you would like to access the remaining videos of this playlist of 50 plus more tools which are coming under DevOps, DevSecOps, SRE, DataOps, GitOps, etc. Kindly become our channel members by clicking on the joining button. You would have access to 100s of playlists and 1000s of videos lifetime access with this membership. Enjoy.
Thanks for watching. Want to study further? Join our training programs today.